Good afternoon. My name is Raghav, and thank you so much for the introduction. And today I'm going to talk about ripe old age or rest in peace old age. Now, why do I say this? So, the average human lifespan of an American is about 76. It used to be about 78 years pre-pandemic, but pandemic caused a drop, and now we're at about 76. But what if I was to tell you people in this room are going to live up to the age of 200? What would you do with your time? What would you do with all of this extra time? I, for one, would cook a lot more. That's actually a dish I made the other day that's called butter chicken pasta. I mixed butter chicken with pasta. Imagine how great that is. And the other one's called dal makhani fondue. It's a very interesting dish. I'm really good at this. Or maybe you'll spend that time that you have with your friends, as I did this Friday. Or maybe you'll spend time with your loved ones. That's actually my grandmother. That's me when I was about 3 years of age. She passed away at the age of 60. I didn't have a lot of time with her, unfortunately, maybe 2 years after this image was clicked. And I wish I had more time with her. But imagine if we did have all of that time, all of those 200 years, what we could do with it. But to do all of that, I need to give you and me 200 years. So how are we going to do that? Let's talk about that. We're going to do that through something called as longevity medicine. Now, what is longevity medicine? Longevity medicine is essentially a bunch of therapies and interventions that will allow us to live longer, healthier lives. And here's the interesting thing. There's a medicine on the market already that allows you to live longer, healthier life, and its name is called metformin. Metformin is a drug that is actually given to diabetics all across the globe for the last about 50 years. So it's a very well-tested drug. And in a lot of retrospective studies, it has been shown that metformin can allow you to live up to 10 years longer, have significantly lower risk of developing cardiovascular disease, significantly lower risk of developing Alzheimer's disease, as well as have decreased chronic kidney disease. Now, that's pretty interesting because why aren't we all taking this medication to live at least 10 years longer and have all of these decreased number of cardiovascular or other disease events? Well, the reason for that is something known as a clinical trial. You see, clinical trials are very structured studies in which you give a patient a drug and a group of patients a drug, and you don't give a group of patients the drug, and then you see what are the benefits of that particular drug that's given. Now, here's the thing. To run a clinical trial for something like metformin, if we are saying we're giving a life extension of 10 years, you'd probably want to recruit people at the age of 60, right? And this clinical trial would then at least run for another 20 years because the average lifespan is about 76. We're looking at extension of 10 years, so till about 86. So we're looking at a clinical trial that's at least running 20 years to 20 plus years, right? And because you're not only tracking just lifespan, that is like the event or something like death, but also events like whether this person developed a heart attack, whether this person had chronic kidney disease, whether they developed Alzheimer's. You're looking at a large number of people. So something like this would effectively take 20 plus years and a lot of people, so a lot of money, so about $50 billion. Now, clearly, this amount of money and time, most companies, and even for that matter, most governments don't have to invest. For reference, about the whole budget, the Medicare budget of the United States is about $500 million. So we're talking about a tenth of the Medicare budget here. Now, here's the thing. What if we could do all of this in less than 5 years and in about less than $2 billion? Imagine how revolutionary that would be. And the way to do this is through something known as aging biomarkers. Now, what are aging biomarkers? So aging biomarkers are essentially a bunch of molecules in your body that can predict how fast or slow your different organs or your whole body is aging, okay? And so I've developed one such biomarker for aging, which can essentially, from a single blood draw, tell aging in 11 different organs of your body. And how we really do that is using whole blood DNA methylation. Now, what is DNA methylation? Let me just quickly give you a rundown of some biology. So all of us have DNA in our body, in our blood, in all of our cells. Now, on top of this DNA, certain groups, certain chemical groups get added that allow certain genes to be expressed more or less, okay? These groups, some of these groups are called methylations, and these methylations can essentially be very predictive of how quickly or slowly you're aging. They get changed in reaction to your environment, in reaction to your genetics, in reaction to what you consume, so on and so forth. And so I actually use this information from whole blood DNA methylation to predict 11 different organ clocks. So essentially predict how people are aging in 11 different organs of their body, such as their brain, such as their heart, their kidney, their liver, their lungs, so on and so forth. And remember, all of this is from a single blood draw. And here's the interesting thing. Not only is this from just a single blood draw, this can be done in under $20. And that's the really amazing part of this. Now, these biomarkers are very sensitive. What that means that you can really see very small changes very quickly. So now, for example, I was given this drug metformin, right? And I was tracked for, now I was initially gonna be tracked for in my clinical trial for 20 years. But instead now, within maybe 2 years, I can see changes in these blood biomarkers, which can tell me that, hey, your heart is already slowing down in its aging process, or your kidney is slowing down in its aging process. So the drug is already working. So you don't have to wait for a complete event, a disease event like a heart attack or a kidney failure to happen before you actually say this clinical trial is working. And of course, because these are also sensitive, you don't require as many patients to run this clinical trial. So instead of requiring hundreds of thousands of patients in these clinical trials, you can run these clinical trials with just 2,000 patients. So this allows you to significantly decrease the cost of running this clinical trial, as well as the time to run this clinical trial. But that's just on the clinical trial front, on discovery of new aging therapies. A biomarker like this has a lot of use cases in day-to-day sort of medicine. Now, typical medicine is very, our present paradigm of medicine is very reactive. You get a disease and then you're cured for it. You get a heart attack and then you get treatment for it. You get cancer and then you're treated for it. But the paradigm that we need to be focusing on is preventative medicine. We prevent a disease from happening at the get-go. And a biomarker like this can essentially allow that. Now think about this. This particular individual will go to their doctor, get this single blood draw, and from the single blood draw, get to know which of their organs are aging the fastest. So for example, for this person, that's their liver and their brain. Now what that tells us is that, hey, this person is predisposed to having diseases of liver, such as fatty liver disease, right? Or having diseases of the brain, such as Alzheimer's disease. And we should, A, be on the lookout to prevent those, as well as give them therapeutics and interventions, both lifestyle-based and chemical-based, to slow the process down in those particular organs. And by doing so, you're not only sort of allowing people to live longer lives, but also live healthier lives. Because now, since you have less diseases, you can be more functional. You can actually work for a longer period of time. You can spend time with people instead of just being in one particular sort of bedridden state. And with that, hopefully, I'm able to convince you that by doing these interventions and hopefully this additional new biomarker that I've discovered, we will be able to live longer, healthier, and more fuller lives. Thank you.